it's da 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 da. Okay, live stream offline. Oh, streaming. Are we streaming yet? Oh, looks like we're streaming now. You are live. Oh, there's like a delay. So all that silly stuff just got in there.
Hello, Internet.
Oh, Nick, do you want to introduce yourself? And then
I'm Nick Vera. What's there to say? I'm from the Philippines, atheist. I watch a lot of YouTube.
great, and he agreed to come talk with us with Deconverted Man. Introduce yourself.
I'm the artist formerly known as Deconverted Man.
And we're both sick. So
Yeah.
I saw this. We all saw this video. Jordan Peterson, talking about. Oh, trying to get it up here. Damn it. Evils of the left. Where the heck is it? Okay. The fatal flaw lurking in American leftist politics. So let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Dun dun. Why isn't it showing up? Dun dun. Huh. Oh well. Oh, there's a delay. That's right. Oh, all right. Well, maybe we won't show that. Anyway, I had the website that it was on up. It's not, for some reason it's not showing up. Oh, there we go. For some reason it's blanked out. I don't get it. So okay, so Jordan Peterson, he talks about the depolarization on the left and the right, and then he gets right into the fundamental claim of postmodernism, an infinite number of interpretations and no canonical overarching narrative. So the problem with that is, now what? Anybody want to take that from there?
There's a lot I don't like about Peterson. That's one of the things that he tends to wander. The next thing should be humanism. Humanism becomes the religious default, more or less. Like, I think Yuval Harari is more interesting on that. That we need to develop humanism and liberalism into something more like a universal religion.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, politics already somewhat behaves like a religion.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, people talk about how before in religion being an apostate is like the worst thing you can be. And you see it in government now, like being a traitor. Being a traitor is a high crime.
Yeah,
you can be executed for it.
With like, the shuffle off with Bernie and the promotion of Hillary is like, okay, you're behind her or else kind of thing. And that's really, to me, when I lost respect for Bernie was when he was like, yeah, go vote her. And I'm like, no, you've been talking this game like you're gonna change everything and you're gonna make a difference and make a stand. Why not say, no, I'm not with her, I'm gonna run as independent, but it's politics.
So Nick, you got a problem with Peterson going down the postmodernism avenue? Is that what you're saying?
My girlfriend likes him. That's what turned me on to Peterson, and he has some good points. There's stuff that we agree on, like obvious stuff like free speech and so on. But he wanders so much to get to a point. Like there is so because this is postmodernism, I'm not sure that's true, but uh, everything falling apart and the old myths going away is obviously true. But what should come is, like, it's already pretty much a default, is hedonism. Uh, I remember I just read some stuff about Yuval Harari, the guy who did Homo Deus, and what was the other one? Homo Deus and Sapiens.
Right, right.
Like,
Oh, I read that one. I read
let's say,
Sapiens. That was great.
let's imagine religion goes away. What we value is human life, and it seems pretty obviously true that it's something that everyone values. Human life is good, and people dying is bad. Whether you're Hindu or Muslim or Christian or atheist. And it's something that's starting with Yuval Harari and uh, Sam Harris and other people trying to develop something like a religion of human flourishing, something objective and measurable. So
Well,
if
well,
more people are happy and more people are prosperous, that's good.
that's great, but the problem with postmodernism is that there's no objective reality. So, um, if I tell you what I'm thinking, that's a reality because that's what I'm thinking. But you'll attempt to deconstruct what I'm thinking and tell me what I'm thinking.
Wasn't Peterson's point about in the video itself was that the left doesn't have like a line that says do not cross this line, whereas the right's like, look, we're gonna cut off, past this line is no land, and that's now I think been labeled the alt right is, if you go towards racism and what nationalism or whatever, that's alt right, and then I guess the alt left is the other side, but there doesn't, like with the right, they're like they've cut off, they've said, look, when you do this, you're not with us anymore. But has the left really said, look, this far, no further kind of thing?
Right. Jordan Peterson points out that racial superiority is the line that the conservatives said outside of this line, you're outside the domain of acceptable opinion. So, starting with William Buckley, and I remember reading about that. And then, yes, he makes some suggestions on what the left can draw a line in the similar line like the conservatives would with racial superiority.
I'm not sure. I think he mentioned that Ben Shapiro had drawn the line at
Yes.
racial superiority, and that's the thing. Of course, tribes don't think or act or speak as monoliths. There are going to be, obviously, there are people on the right that believe some races are superior, and I'm not really sure that that's really a place to draw the line, because one thing I've been sort of obsessing over the last couple of days is the Sam Harris Ezra Klein podcast.
Yeah, I haven't listened to that yet.
Sam Harris is on this thing where he did a podcast with Charles Murray, the guy who wrote The Bell Curve.
Right.
And he'd been fighting with Ezra Klein for a while after that about how, you remember Murray wrote The Bell Curve about how some races score lower on IQ tests and some races score higher.
Yes.
And yeah, so this is like the political third rail that no one wants to touch. And it's like, that's something that definitely some races would use to as a justification to show that some races are better than others. And like in a less politically charged way, it's like obviously some races are in some aspect. Like everyone knows that Japanese have long life expectancy, and that's pretty uncontroversial. And obviously that's going to apply to other things. Like some people have better health, or Kenyans are better at long distance running. When it's normal stuff like that, everyone figures, yeah, fine. Kenyans are good at marathons and so on. But when it gets to IQ, then, when you look at this data, you're racist. You're not allowed to look at this data because slavery.
I think Steven Pinker's been bringing that up too. That we have to have the discussion, not not that there's some people might have offensive conclusions, but if we don't have a discussion, then people will conclude what they want on their own.
Yeah, I mean the whole endeavor of science is to collect data, and then the ethics of what we do with that data is a whole nother thing. But if we're sitting there arguing over whether or not the data should be collected in the first place, then you don't move forward. So but there is a case to be made. Perhaps there was a lot of data collected during World War II under horrible conditions by Nazi scientists, and so ethically, as a group, it's been kind of decided we won't use any data that they gathered because the way that they gathered it was wrong. So is that something where, well, but then there's that data just sitting there that we're not going to even look at because we don't like how they got it.
But we did accept the data from Werner von Braun, though.
Okay, so well, some data, but not other data would be acceptable or whatever, I guess. But I think it's the same sort of idea where it's like, okay, if this could be used hypothetically to hurt X group, therefore we better not do it. And it's like, well, yeah, but you don't have any idea until you do it. As long as I think there is a difference between how you get the data versus, it's like you can make a case that's like, okay, look, yeah, people got that data the wrong way, so maybe we shouldn't use it. Okay, that makes sense, on some level. But then to say, well, we shouldn't get this data at all because appeal to consequence, that doesn't make sense.
So yeah, coming back to the thing, Jordan Peterson was saying that the line that's drawn on the right is saying that some races are superior to others, and I think that's a problematic line because that makes Charles Murray a racist, and I don't think that he is. Some of his proposals might be problematic, but we should be able to look at the data. So where Peterson draws a line, I'm not sure I agree. There should be lines, but what I think the line should be is like violence and censorship. So if you want to say that some races are superior, it's something you'd have to explain, but you're allowed to make that argument and other people are allowed to criticize it.
Yeah, there is this resistance, I think I'd call it, against the free marketplace of ideas and debate with given topics. Like, oh, what if somebody wants to come along and argue that somebody's civil rights should be taken away? So let's say somebody wants to say, I want there to not be marriage for homosexuals. It's only between a man and a woman, that's it. And so you're saying, well, no, we're not going to allow you to, we're not going to debate that topic. We're not, because then that will elevate you to our status and will, give you a platform or whatever. But, well, then what's the consequence of not debating any given idea? That idea still is there. They still get to go around and talk about it. They still get to spread it. So, and now they get to also say, and by the way, they won't debate me. Therefore, I'm right.
Therefore,
so either,
I'm right.
Yeah,
Therefore,
either way, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So either you debate them and crush them with words, or you don't debate them, and then I guess you can say things against that idea, but is it going to spread more one way or the other? I don't have any idea. We'd have to have some massive data collection to see which is the more effective strategy, because it might turn out to be that maybe the most effective strategy is to not debate people about issues that you don't want to see succeed, or it might be that the most effective strategy is to debate ideas you don't want to succeed.
Well, historically, since the Enlightenment, the idea is that we wanted to have been debated and succeeded in the marketplace of ideas are advancing social equalities, advancing real social justice. Where everyone is equal and everyone has rights, the same rights. And so if the evil white male patriarchy had not given time to other thoughts, then we'd still be where we were several hundred years ago, maybe.
Well, I was trying to imagine, Martin Luther King Jr. Being challenged to a debate back in his day, right? And I think he would have accepted. I mean, obviously we can't know, but because it would have been huge news, it would have spread his message. So, but then that means he's debating the person that's against the civil rights. So he's then therefore making that position seem correct by debating them. So you see how the mentality of, well, let's not debate X, Y, and Z because doing so raises them to our level can be used against the minority just as easily. And so, and again, if you wanted to do some sort of study, that I think that would be interesting. I don't know how it would be done, but to find out, let's take an idea and see the success of that idea if it gets debated versus when it doesn't get debated.
Who was it? There was an atheist that said somewhere, was it Dawkins or someone, that said when we debate creationists, what we should do is instead of sending a headliner or an A-lister, we should just send a grade school kid. Because pretty much for religious debates, that's all you really need. So why give them oxygen?
Well, that might be something that's a potential way to do something like that as well. It's like, okay, we'll debate you on topic X that we don't want to elevate to this imaginary level, but we'll do so using somebody young or somebody otherwise challenged to make some sort of point of that. But of course it's you're not putting your best debater out there, so I'm not going to take that seriously or something like that. I mean, yeah,
I think
I don't know. I mean,
I think part of it is that when I watched a number of those Dawkins and I think he debated Lennox and a few other debated the creationist or the what's the new one, intelligent design, is that they start from a presuppositional position and then you're wasting your time with presupposition.
I mean, it's for the audience though. It's not, you're not really, you can't, well, maybe you'll convert them, who knows, but
it's a long shot. You're pretty much playing for the audience.
Right. And the other thing is you're raising awareness to the general population about topic X, whatever that is. So it's like you might not have any idea that X amount of people are flat earthers, for example. Like the general population probably would be like, yeah, nobody believes the earth is flat. I mean, come on. And then all of a sudden you have, somebody prominent or even somebody not prominent or well known. Suddenly there's this debate, televised, where they're debating the flat earth, and you're just like, blah, 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 I didn't know people still existed, and you could roll out how I tried to look up how many people actually believe in the flat earth. I couldn't find any numbers.
There's a large number of them all around the globe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the thing is, I figure some of those are trolls. Like there's a flat earth society.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Poe's law. You can't know that. I mean, just but I wonder if there is an actual number of do we know how many people there are that believe this? But
you know what? Somebody challenged me. I was talking about a controversial thing many years ago, and they said, "Well, what if I started talking about the fake moon landings. I'm like, go ahead, talk about it. I don't, if you want to, I'm sitting here. It was during lunch. I'm eating my lunch. If you want to spend your lunch talking, trying to convince me that the moon landings are fake, I have nothing better to do. It doesn't challenge me. It doesn't. I don't have an existential crisis because somebody challenged the moon landings. That's part of it. When my experience with people on the far right is, if you brought up any topics that was outside of their talking points, it would throw them off, and they would be upset because you're trying to, you know, um, you're trying some sneaky plan to convince them to be a communist or something when you're talking about liberal ideas, and so they would shut you off. But now we have the exact same thing happening on the far left, where if you bring up a topic, I wasn't afraid to talk about the fake moon landings. I don't think they were.
Well, it
fake.
seems more like it's a concern about protecting minority groups, almost to the point where it's like,
Yeah, they're sacred cows.
Yeah,
We need to protect Muslims or trans people, no matter what.
yeah, and the thing is, it's like I think that, because I want to think the best of people, obviously, but I'm too darn jaded. It's like, well, on one side, the person probably is doing it with the best of intention. Hopefully, ideally, we hope that. But that's not what I see played out. What I see played out is, I'm going to bring up that this could hurt this minority group as a power play. And now we can't talk about that. So I've achieved my power and I've used that group to my advantage. I've used their name to forward my agenda. So it's like, I don't really care about those people, in one way, because what I really care about is the power. But they might actually care about those people as a person. But the effect is that now, if you're their opponent, you might come away with a distaste towards that minority group because they use them to forward their agenda. So it's like, look, don't use the fact that they're a minority group to forward your agenda. You come up with an argument that's independent of that, because why should that matter that they're a minority group? At what point, are they no longer that? So if everybody, how many, of X color is in the world versus Z color? Well, it depends where you go in the world. So if I went to Africa, I'd probably am, depending on where I go, I'd be like the only white guy there. So, and I probably wouldn't want to go there because I might, not be welcomed, so.
You racist.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you don't want to go somewhere you're going to get shot, right? So.
A lot of the time, these guys really are sincere. So they really are concerned with and want to protect LGBT people or black people or trans people. It's sincere, but the righteousness, it gives them that sense of righteousness that they feel that there are no bad tactics, only bad targets.
Yeah,
and anything goes.
With that, I would be insulted if I was, one of this group thing, is because, no, I can look out for myself. I think that these minority groups, they're stronger than is being kind of given credit for. It's like, oh, we need to protect them. No, they can protect themselves just fine, thank you. So look, if this did hurt them, then they can come forward and push back. They're not these weak-willed, lily-livered cowards. They're strong individuals, and the homosexual community has fought for years to get to where they are. So they know how to persevere. They know how to, stay on track. I mean, for example, what happened with Milk way back in the, what was
Harvey
it?
Milk.
Yeah, Harvey Milk, 78. I was born when he, I think he was killed on 78, wasn't he?
Around there, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, but then I learned about him as an adult way later, because of the movie or whatever. and it's like, wow, that's really messed up that happened. But yet they push forward and they persevere as a group, and so it's like, well, we've got to protect them. They're going to be fine, because they've been fine. It's a matter of getting, how do we slowly begin to get people to not want to hurt, X, Y, or Z group. And, I think there was that one story where that black man, for example, befriended a KKK guy. And it's like, well, maybe that's the answer. We need to make friends and love people, and then you got the whole hippie thing, And obviously there's exceptions to that, but there's no one solution. But I don't know, that tangent a little bit there.
Nick, you mentioned Jonathan Haidt in The Righteous Mind, and
Yeah.
from his point of view, everybody is coming from a sincere perspective. This is how I feel. You have people that are pro-life and people that are pro-choice.
Yeah.
And from their perspectives, the pro-life says, well, you're murdering unborn children, and for people that it may be because of their religion or lack of religion, don't feel that they are children, and we have two very sincere points of view. And when one side, well, you I think you probably read more Jonathan Haidt than me on that.
Righteous Mind and Happiness Hypothesis, just those two, I think. But yeah, he talks about like one thing that has been sort of measurably changing in the past couple of years is the toxicity. And like it used to be like Democrats and Republicans would work together on things, and now they just really don't anymore. It's like if you're on one side, it's poison to even touch the other side. You can't cooperate with them on anything, and that's what we need to bring back. It's like this is the stuff in the discourse, in the lefty dialogue that scares me, is the idea of platforming and deplatforming. So if you even talk to someone who's racist or perceived as racist, then that infects you by association.
Like what's happening right now with Lindsay Shepard.
Yeah, you stand next to someone who has racist cooties, then you're infected as well.
And with I was funny because I was just thinking of Lindsay Shepard. She said, "I'm leaving the left. I'm not I'm not part of that group." Now that doesn't mean that she's part of the other group, but it's like I just don't want to be part of that anymore. So it's like, well, you guys are shooting yourself in the foot because people that want to be able to have nuanced discussion are if you're shutting down the ability to do that, but you can't talk about that. You can't talk about that. We can't mention that. That's and it's like, well, what can you talk about? It's like you're walking on eggshells, so forget about it. If I want to talk about those subjects, I can't be part of your group now. So I have to make a new group, or I have to, find a group that is willing to. But I was also thinking, kind of as a tangent, and you can rein this in if you want, disturbing, but I know of good speakers for the right, like Ben Shapiro, and I think he's a decent speaker. I think Milo Yiannopoulos, I don't know if he's kind of run his course or not. It's hard to say, but he's certainly a wild card speaker. If not, I don't think he's as sophisticated of a speaker as Sharpo is. But I don't know of any left speakers out there. Maybe you guys can throw out some names of people because I should subscribe to and check them out or whatever. But so does the left have good speakers like Shapiro or somebody like that that's a force to be reckoned with, or?
Sargon? Sargon's
yeah, but they're saying Sargon
what about Bill
is
Maher?
right.
Now, Bill Maher gets booed when he talks about some things.
Yeah.
Bill Maher, Sam Harris. I mean, now he's like,
Do you think Sam Harris is left enough to be accepted as a left speaker, though? Like, because it seems like
Sam Harris is left, but
he's not left enough. That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know,
he's perceived as a Muslim hating weirdo. He's becoming
Yeah.
marginalized more and more.
Right, because he dares to say that Islam's a dangerous ideology, which it is. Which, oh, that's racist. No, that's not racist. That was right. But yeah, somebody had said, you know, violence and censorship are probably the good lines. So I was thinking about censorship. We do have censorship, even today, whether you're left or right. And, you know, is that an issue? Is that, yeah, now I'm really, help me out, Disturbing. Pull me back in. I'm wanting to go off on tangents.
Well, okay, here's a personal experience. I mentioned this before. I have several YouTube channels, and one old one. It's a lot of political left stuff, and all the videos got demonetized like a year ago. They just bang one day they were all turned off. So even on the left is getting censored. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's part of it. So the left-leaning direction of a lot of media now is pretty well known. I hope that might turn, but it's something at least people know about. It's something that most people don't acknowledge.
David Pakman's very left leaning, and he has a show every day. I think he takes a really reasonable. I mean, he pisses off half his audience depending on who he has on, but he takes a very reasonable approach. The problem with when you have like Dave Rubin now, Dave Rubin, he's alt right. He's what are the things he's accused of because of the people he has on the show?
What about Bill Maher? I was thinking of him.
Yeah, we just did Bill Maher.
Yeah, we did Bill Maher. I'm sorry, my brain was like, yeah, we haven't talked about that. Oh, yes, we did. Oh, okay. Shut up, me. I know what I'm. I had to get his face in my head for that to work. You know, like, didn't he do that movie where he talked to Jesus?
Religious.
Yeah, religious.
Well, everything, he talks about things that from a left perspective, but then he says things that pisses people off. Now, the problem with I did the long horror video that the Deconverted Man helped me render with about what was your waking up moment, the red pill.
I'm never talking about that video again.
Well, I wanted it done and out of my life. So that was kind of my waking up moment, seeing Sam Harris. Now, you mentioned Ben Shapiro. Now, I disagree with him on a lot of things, but I think he's sharp. I really enjoy hearing his perspective. Whether I agree with him or not doesn't matter. And I always watch the old William F. Buckley debates and talks. But with that Sam Harris, Ben Affleck debacle, I mean, I was horrified. And Sam Harris was on there. I think he was on there to talk about his new book about meditations or something. And he got T-boned.
We were talking about before we got going about Me Too, the hashtag Me Too thing, and I was thinking, Louis C.K. I mean, I don't know if he's left, right, whatever, but because he's a comedian, it's hard to know. But certainly, somebody that isn't afraid to say whatever. Well, because he's a comedian, he has to be able to say whatever. But now, of course, he's accused, of this, that, or whatever. And a lot of these people in Hollywood are accusing each other left and right. And it's like Hollywood's been known as being pretty liberal leaning lately. I mean, I think that, when they first started, they probably were more conservative. It's hard to say. But now it's like the left, quote unquote, is eating itself, and that's the problem.
I think people will look back at this time as something like McCarthyism version 2.
Yeah, I was thinking that, it's kind of like the modern day blacklisting of people that you think are communists. But now we have communists doing it to other people. So
Marxist.
yeah. No, was it communist or Marxist that they were blacklisting way back when?
Well, communists, but
Yeah.
now it's Marxists.
Yeah, so now it's flipped the table. So it's like, oh, we were against communists, now we're against Marxists. So, yeah.
Well, the postmodern
I mean, we've always
Marxists
been
are against free thought.
Yeah, we've always been against these groups. It's just, when you take it to the level of we're going to blacklist these people because we believe they're part of this thing, then you have essentially what the Me Too movement and things like that have become sort of a witch hunt, But, yeah, it's kind of a tangent. And I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where to go with this.
I kind of hope seeing the tides turning. It's hard to quantify, of course, but like for whatever it's worth, like looking around on Twitter and stuff, like I think it's like a battle on a couple of different fronts, like Gamergate and the internet and Tumblr and Twitter and a bunch of other things. But it's like SJW is pretty much a bad term now, or a bad word. You're being an SJW. No, you're being an SJW. It's going too far. Like, people don't really talk about trigger warnings or safe spaces anymore, except to mock them.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I don't know because I don't have, I mean, I haven't seen it one way or the other, but it again with this whole thing in general where it doesn't seem, or as Peterson pointed out, it's like the left doesn't seem to have a clear-cut line to say no, stop here. They might, but if they do, they haven't really enforced it.
Well,
and
he suggests what it should be.
Yeah, he suggests what it should be, which is equality of outcome. I also think that it could be, let's stop at censorship, or let's stop at and definitely at violence.
Anti-equal violence.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because censorship, that was always like a thing that the left wanted to get rid of. But now it's like, well, no, we need it for this, this, and this. So like, wait, why? I thought we wanted to get rid of all censorship. So it's hard to know, like, should we get rid of all censorship? Should there be censorship of anything? And I've wondered about that for a long time, but it's a whole different topic. But it's weird. Like, have they lost their group identity because the funny enough, the minority of the super far left are kind of running the show.
It's kind of like what you see with every religion. Like, when a religion is an underdog, then they want separation of church and state, and they want freedom to do their thing. And once they gain power or seize power, then they want to suppress other religions. So I think it's that natural trend that now that the left is the dominant force. And that's one of the things that scares me, seeing lefty discourse talking about how the free market of ideas fails sometimes, and it allows things like the Holocaust. So therefore, some ideas are just too toxic to allow out there, and they need to be censored or cut out entirely.
Well, some people are making the argument that the new extreme left, the intersectional identity politics people, is the new religion. And Lindsay Shepard pointed out in her leaving the left, when she leaves the left video, here her main points about leftists: they are pro censorship, they encourage victim culture, they claim to be morally righteous, they believe that being offended results in a moral victory, they dismiss any personal responsibility. And that's a point that a number of people have brought up, including Jordan Peterson, that personal responsibility, I think it was Jordan Peterson, that personal responsibility is only it's a right wing idea, right? Personal responsibility. And they are intolerant of diversity of thought, and they lack a sense of humor. I like that one.
I've also seen, but I don't have, I've seen it.
Oh crap!
That there seems to be anti-debate, you don't have to give an argument, or well, you give an argument because everything can be seen as an argument, but you don't have to have data. You don't have to have, a well-structured, formalized, syllogism or whatever, because it's just, oh, well, I've seen this and I've seen that, and I can make this be my opinion, and then it's free of criticism because I've made it my opinion. And then people are like, yeah, you have some good points there. It's like, what? Maybe they do, but what happened to being critical of things? And it's like, yo, you can't do that. Or if you do it, you got to do it this certain way. You can't do it, like, it's hard to know, what you're supposed to do. What are you allowed to criticize and not, and how are you supposed to criticize it? And yeah, I wouldn't know anything about that though, because nothing like that's ever happened to me.
Not recently, right?
Absolutely not.
So what lines should the people on the left draw?
I mean, I think we've said quality of outcome,
Right.
violence, and possibly censorship. Does that roll into the topic of censorship as a whole, or is that I don't want to I don't want to take us off into the weeds. I'm trying to rein myself in. Help me out.
Get a grip on yourself, man.
Not
What do you
on this
think, Nick?
hangout.
Is there any other ideas that the left can draw a line and say, at this point, you've gone too far?
Like, you'd think Antifa violence would be a gimme, but apparently not. It's like scary how some people will talk about how, it's a necessary evil because some ideas are so toxic that they need to be repressed by any means necessary.
Yeah, I had a talk with somebody that was pro Antifa on Facebook ages ago, and my word, it was it was really frightening. It's like, no, I'm like, what gives you the right to take the law into your hands? Because they won't do it, so somebody has to. And I'm like, wow, that's...
And yeah, the thing that, like, using guilt or morality as a club, like if you are pro Second Amendment or pro gun rights, then it's like you're almost personally shooting down kids in schools now.
Oh, yeah, hey, disturbing, since you're in charge of this. He mentioned school shooting. Do we want to tangent into that?
Whatever you want to. Let me see here.
If we've exhausted, I mean, have we exhausted this topic? Because I don't want to,
Oh, it doesn't. We can talk about anything. I'm not going to deplatform you. No, you're a witch. You're a witch.
And the dialogue around Dankula.
Well, we've got to give Nicholas more time to speak than us white guys.
Like, the following stuff, how people talk about the Count Dankula trial. It's like,
yeah, that's... I don't. How did this happen? How? I mean,
and the lukewarm support, like, it's because free speech isn't that big a deal anymore. Like, we've apparently moved past that.
Well, I mean, I've read, every now and then there will be a story where definite injustice has been served, and I mean, it does speak that we need to fix our justice system. There was somebody, the cops were chasing two burglars or whatever, and the cop shot one of them, and then the other one ran away and then got caught, and then the other one now is going to prison for the murder of the guy that was shot by the cop. And I'm like, what? No, that can't. I don't know. It was like, what? It just didn't make any sense. There's more to the story, but I think, but it's just from the headline, you're like, really? What? I wouldn't surprise me at this point. Do you have a YouTube or Twitter, Nick, to shout out?
Twitter, I'm thinking of trying something on YouTube. My Twitter is Nick de Vera. It's my real name.
No,
yeah,
YouTube?
I mean, yeah, throw it on the chat.
It is. It should be on there.
Oh, is it? On under the video description?
Let me check. I think it is. It was.
Because
yes.
Drago is like link for Nicholas.
And there's one for a link to Deconverted Man if you want to abuse him and get into an argument with him and be really unreasonable.
No, stop. Leave me alone.
And take him out of context.
Stop it. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Count Dacula. I really didn't follow that. I
love this name, too. It's like, that's not his name.
And it still makes me laugh, the pug video.
Oh, it's adorable. I think that... Now, I have a question. Okay, so we've set now a precedent in... Is this Scotland, right?
Yeah, but the law is actually UK law, so it's not
okay, it's UK. Okay, so if this is now... What they call it? Like, I think did they call it a hate crime?
I believe
being grossly offensive. It was like, what was it? Communications Act of 2003. It was a law that's been on the books, but they just haven't been using it. And now they just sort of woke up and, hey, we can use this thing.
So if I, as an American citizen, was to train a bunch of cats or dogs to do this and then ship them en masse to the UK, have I committed a war crime now?
Only cats.
Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, what would that be? I mean, if I train a whole bunch of animals to do those stupid little salute thing, and I send them into that country, and then they start, you know, they're walking around on the streets and they're doing it whenever to try to get food. Have I committed some sort of war crime because this is a hate crime? What have I done? Is this have I done? Well, I might have done something illegal just because I sent animals to a place, but you know, it's like, well, I think the proper response is for the people of the UK to train their pets to do stuff like this in protest, just like with Draw Muhammad Day, for example. You know, what?
Yeah, and a lot of people were mocking that on Twitter, how it was like right after the Telford thing. So Telford and Rotherham, then you got Dankula posting Nazi stuff. Off with his head, send him to jail.
Well, I made the argument that it's not him, it's the stupid dog. We should kill the dog. The dog's the Nazi.
You butcher.
Look, I just say dogs, you know, what can I say?
Well, what's I haven't followed that the last week or so. He's appealing. He's not in jail yet, right?
No, they didn't.
He's pretty much given up. It's like he's getting sentenced, like, I think next week. I've been waiting on that.
Yeah, I've been waiting on the sentence because I don't think that they'll give him jail time, but I mean, you know,
I don't know based on what, like, but Googling around, it's like all of the articles say he could get 6 months or a year.
Yep.
In jail.
Yep.
They'll probably do a fine though, don't you think? I mean,
so you want to get into somebody really controversial, Tommy Robinson.
I haven't really looked into him much, but apparently he's racist, or what was it like?
He's accused of being racist. I've never seen anything that he said that was racist.
And Jonathan Pye and Dankula said, so yeah, free speech is important enough that I would stand with people who are perceived as racist to uphold free speech.
No, but that's hate speech. Hate speech is bad. Like,
who gets to decide?
I like what Jordan says about that question. The person that you least want to decide
is the one deciding.
Right. And then the thing is, you might think that it serves your cause, and it might for now, but you're completely ignorant if you don't think that will be turned around against you later. You know.
Yeah, it's like it's something that a lot of the smarter people have been talking about, like ever since the Nazi punching crap started with Spencer back in the day. Like fucking die if what you do is anyone you don't like, you call them a Nazi, then people are just gonna use that and call everyone Nazis. And
Or
Christ,
MRA
we're
or
devaluing the term Nazi now.
yeah, exactly. So
Even Jewish people are being called Nazis.
yeah, Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
Was
right.
like what? And they're protesting him and stuff, and it's just like it doesn't make sense. And again, this let's deplatform this person. Let's not let them speak at all. And also, we're not going to debate them on top of that, because I'm like, isn't the proper response to somebody I don't like is, one, I'm not going to go listen to them. Two, I'll debate them. Or, maybe three, I'll have my own speaker come and speak about my ideas. Wouldn't that be those are all proper protest isn't a proper response to somebody saying things that I don't like.
That's another thing I keep seeing on Facebook when I still log in, is that there's so much fake news. Facebook or Twitter, whatever, should censor or filter out Facebook. And like, think that through. If you give the tech companies power to censor people you don't like, it's just a matter of time before they start censoring things you do like. And then where do we go?
Well, there's the hashtag that was trending when Zuckerberg went to the Senate, delete Facebook now because of all the data collection stuff they're doing. And I suspect, Google does that to some extent, and maybe even Twitter does it. And, we're going to enter this age of it. Once we give the power to the government, whatever the law is, they never give that up. Like, once you give them a law, once you give them,
yeah, it's a ratchet.
Yeah, and same thing with money. Like, once you, I forget what it was now, but I read or heard about this thing where they had raised the money on this thing because of some tax, and then when that thing was completed, the project was completed, the tax didn't just go back to normal; it just stayed there.
Oh yeah, that was from like the Depression era or something. Right?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember now, but I mean, it's common enough to where you're not surprised. And what's the guy that's the consumer awareness guy?
Ralph Nader.
Yeah, but there's another one I'm trying to think of on YouTube that I've been watching. I'll know him when I see his face. Hold on. Go ahead. Do things while I do that.
One thing maybe I'd like to get into it is there's the culture of, and the term on both sides isn't cool anymore, but yeah, on both sides. Uh, Addiction to outrage. Like, it's what both sides do pretty much since way back, is that lefties will say, look at these crazy right-wing people and the things that they do or say. And same thing on the other side, look at these stupid hippies and their the stupid things that they do or say. And it's addictive, and it gets clicks and views, and it's something a lot of people do. Like, I like Sargon, but I think he goes too far sometimes.
Do you think he's a liberal, as he's pushing himself as a liberalist now?
I guess, yeah, but it's the thing that I see a lot. Even Ben Shapiro or some other people, it's uh the us versus them. Pushing the us versus them thing is something you see on both sides, and it's something that poisons the discourse. There was an economist, who was it? Tyler Cowen. Tyler Cowen had a great talk that I had bookmarked, where he talks about how it's basically the narrative bias, and everyone, of course, divides things up into tribes. And my tribe is always right, and your tribe is always wrong.
Well,
People think
you're just saying that because you're Filipino, but if you were white, you wouldn't be saying that. Right? I mean, but yeah, that to me still the thing that we still call it race, that irritates me because look, it's not like we can't breed with each other. So we're all the same race. We're all human. Why do we call different colors races? I don't know. Oh my god. Okay,
Oh
sorry.
no, he
it's a
worked himself
thing,
into
but
injuring himself.
like one of
Yes, I
the
was
reasons
addicted to
why
the outrage. The outrage, man.
It's a hangover from being abused on YouTube a few days ago.
Look, don't
one of
bring
the
it up.
reasons why I'm concerned about this is like Trump came to power and we got there first. Duterte became president before Trump was, and he's it's like a totally different thing because at least Trump has a low approval rating, and Duterte's approval rating is like in the 70s or 80s.
Oh boy.
It's a global thing. Trump, Duterte, Brexit, and all over. It's a scary tide, and everyone thinks that Trump's gonna screw it up so bad that that the Republicans are gonna get killed when elections come around, and I'm not sure they will because the Dems are screwing it up too.
I've seen who was it now?
John Stossel.
Yeah, well, I was talking about John. That was kind of a tangent that I was going off into.
I know.
John Stossel, and he talks about a lot of things, so I'm not sure where that tangent was going anymore. now,
Like
my
I
other
want the left to win, but I'm not sure they will. They need to do better.
like they need to. Well, I mean, first of all, they have to, I think, draw coherent lines and say this is what rebrand themselves in a sense, or say look, this is who we are and what we believe in, what we don't believe in, and then pick somebody or maybe a couple of people and say these are our spokespeople, these are the ones that are that we approve of or something of that nature.
And do a better job of outreach. It's like this is our side, and if you don't agree with this, you're racist. If you don't agree with this, you're evil.
Yeah, exactly. I
Like,
mean that.
wow, that's so convincing. And
Y-
thank you. You put Trump and Duterte in power.
yeah, I mean that. I've seen that mentality. Trump can do no right. So and his staff. It doesn't matter what they do. And I was trying Vox. I think it's Vox, and some other big channels like that had done this piece about well, what's going to happen if we go to war with North Korea, and people in the comments, because the lovely comment section is more fun than the video, but it's like this is fear mongering, and everyone's well, not everyone, but a lot of people are calling it fear mongering. I'm like, yeah, when a big channel does something like that, are they really exploring the topic just because it's an interesting topic, or are they trying to cause fear, or what? I don't know. It's hard to know, of course, but it does seem like they're pushing some agenda, and I don't know that that's the way to get people to join your side, so to speak.
Well, Nick, you made it. Sorry to interrupt, Nick. You made a good point about Duterte. I didn't know he
Mhm.
had such a high approval rating. So people on the left and right approve of him. And what is it that the people on the left approve of him for? Because he's killing drug dealers.
The left doesn't really like him. So resistance to him is rising, but it's one of those baffling things. And it's one of the things that makes me different is that pretty much the left here just dismisses it as Duterte supporters are idiots. And that's all there is to it. And I gotta think there has to be more than that, but it really is pretty dumb on that other side. But it's sort of the best you could do is saying that people want stability and progress, and It's like the country is so fucked up, so we're willing to put a strong man in power just to put things right. Putin light.
Who do we have any idea who's going to be put up for the candidates at this point for the next cycle?
Who's going to be put up for what?
Who's going to be put up for the presidential candidates or
In the U.S.,
yeah, in the U.S.
Kamala Harris. I don't know.
would Harris? I don't think Harris would want to do anything like that.
I hope she doesn't.
You know, well, Oprah.
There you go. We need
Because
we need more TV stars.
We need more TV stars, right? I mean, you know. But that is you know, so who? But seriously, do we have any idea? And that's the thing is like, maybe the left needs to start promoting their candidates of choice, whoever they might be, or
Bernie
something.
2.0.
No, I think Bernie's going to run on his own. He's going to run either as independent or something else. I think so. I really do.
Oh,
because why would he go with the Democratic National Convention? They screwed him once. Why would he do it again?
That's true. And then Joe Biden, he might throw his hat in the ring.
Yeah, you know, but people want Oprah and Michelle Obama to team up. So why not? You know, because they're totally qualified. Yeah, that's the other thing. With Trump is qualified for president. The only qualification is your age and that you're born here. That's about it, you know. So,
that's true.
You know, there's that guy with the boot on his head. I'm gonna vote for that guy. At least he's promising free ponies. Puddle's pity party. Yeah, for president. Is that his name? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. I thought about running, but it's too complicated. You gotta like fill out forms and stuff. Like, it's a lot of work.
Well, gentlemen, I think we've come to the end of the.
Yeah, I think I killed it. I blame. You know, I can only blame myself.
No. Anything more you want to talk about, Nick, before we unplug? I'm not rushing. I mean, if we want to go on, I'm fine. I'm not tired of talking.
What else is there? Like,
I mean, we talked about race realism. That was off limits. We talked about the Me Too movement. That's off limits. We pretty much screwed ourselves in every conceivable way we did.
Well, we talked about David Silverman before we went live.
I don't know. I can't really talk to it. I don't really know that much about it.
I just heard recently, that Me Too ran him over. Lawrence Krauss. At first, I thought, well, it's BuzzFeed, so that's not really anything. But then Christina Rad said that, Lawrence Krauss made a move on her, but it wasn't really that big a deal. But it looks like he really is that kind of guy.
He might be. My problem with the hysterics, every time somebody, this has nothing to do with personalities. When somebody gets murdered and it's on TV, national television, 24/7, you see the husband. It's always the husband that killed the wife. Do you remember Scott Peterson? And so, you've got your family member that you supposedly killed. You got a funeral coming up. You can't go to it. And I always, like O.J. Simpson, most of us thought he was guilty, but until something happens that you go from innocent to guilty, I'm always I've always had a gut reaction against presuming guilt, and showing somebody on TV 24/7 is, to me, it's portraying them as guilty. They're a suspect. Their faces on TV. They show them pulling into their driveway, looped over and over again for 24/7, and I don't like that. A BuzzFeed article, Lawrence Krauss, maybe he is guilty of some or all those things, but I think people need their day in court or some day of reckoning before we can draw conclusions. We can draw our own personal conclusions, like I'm going to stay away from this person because they're grab-assy. But
well, I think that Well, I mean, that's up to the person, but I think it's enough already. Maybe that's another place the left could draw the line and say, okay, it's enough already with convicting people in the court in the public opinion court. And that
That one,
ties.
I'm not sure that's really the left. That's really the 24-hour news cycle. Like Jonathan Hyde, I think, made the same point that a lot of this comes from because of CNN and 24-hour news cycle. They have to put stuff on. So every little thing, like some shooting that before would just be nothing, now there's some shooting somewhere. It turns into national news because they have to have something on.
Oh yeah, every time there's a war and it's on CNN and stuff, I call it the war miniseries. I'm watching the war.
Well, the answer to that might be, the new media of YouTube and things like that is slowly killing them. But now, of course, then the problem is Google is playing politics with YouTube, and yeah, well, that's a mess. But anyways, yeah, I'm out of. I mean, I have. I mean, I'm out of my brain at any rate. But yeah, this was great. Thanks.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Sure, nobody will be offended by anything I said here.
No, but it was great talking to you again, Deconverted Man, and it was great talking.
I want to get the hashtag Pug Lives Don't Matter trending.
Oh man,
Pugs are Nazis trending. I want to get that one.
Pug dogs are Nazis.
Yeah, pug Nazis. Kill all pugs. I don't know. It's okay to punch a pug. There you go.
Oh boy.
And unless they're Filipino, then you can't assume their race or gender. I don't know. I got nothing, man. I don't know how to make fun of anyone anymore. Nicholas is Santa Claus's name. Ha! Eat that. There, I made fun of him.
I culturally appropriated my name from
from way back in the 16th century. Well, JJ over there, he stole my hat. I don't know. I got nothing. Okay, goodbye, everybody. Lobsters exist.
Oh no.
Bye.
Okay. Well, it was nice talking to both of you, and we'll meet again.
No, probably not.
Oh, well, I had a great time. I think we had a nice talk, and next time a Big Think video comes up, we'll all rush to the live stream again.
Yeah, we could have talked about why Black Americans are getting less sleep. That was 2 days ago on Vox. I mean, they presented really great evidence and arguments.
Oh, white Scandinavians get at least 7.5 hours sleep. I'm jealous. I don't even get that.
Anyways, all right. Yeah. Hey, Nick, it was good to kind of meet you. I mean, sorry if I, did anything I wasn't supposed to. I was trying to, poke at you and try to be silly, but I don't know how to do that. So.
He's definitely not politically correct.
No, I'm not. Also, if I poke at Nicholas, then he'll just do me too on Twitter, and that'll be the end of me.
Well, thank you for both of you for coming on, and I'm going to unplug here. So, any last words, Nicholas?
Good talk.
Okay.
See you around.
Bye now. Thank you.
Hi, Hitler. Oh no, I better not say that.
Bye.